We got him. We got him, Sammy. He's out. He's done. He's got. No, wait, hold on. It's not the guy. It's not the guy. No. It's not Eberflus. It's not Eberflus. Shane Waldron is out as the offensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. Right now, we're in the middle of our bargaining, I guess it would be bargaining. Like, we're trying to save as many jobs as possible. Eberflus is already he's already fired 2 offensive coordinators within the last 10 months? He's fired a defensive coordinator. Like, how many people are we going to go through before we just are like, yeah, maybe, like, how many parts do you have to replace on the engine before you're finally just willing to admit, you know what? The engine might be faulty. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when I was out there making waves and doing all this stuff and talking about, like, Matt Eberflus looks like he's safe through next season, which I thought was preposterous when I heard it. But now they're trying to do everything they can just to find a spark. Will they find that spark? Let's talk about it. Sammy, let's go ahead and start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Adam Ray.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois, the sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to a very special Tuesday edition of the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank here, breaking down the firing of Shane Waldron, who has been relieved of his duties. And if you sit here and listen to the news, Tom Pelissero said, on various platforms this afternoon, that there were a lot of discussions with the Chicago Bears over the last 24 hours of what exactly was going to happen. Were they going to just demote Shane Waldron? Were they going to have him call plays from up in the booth? Were they going to do this? Were they going to do that? I know some other reporters have come in here and suggested that perhaps people are frustrated with the quarterback, Caleb Williams. A lot of it we won't know. We don't know. We're not in those rooms. We're not in those meetings. What we do know is that Shane Waldron is out in a move that, again, I don't know how much we could really expect this to be a huge impact on the Bears. We're sitting there because a lot of people are asking, like, what are we getting? Who is the guy? Who is the guy? This is the thing that we should all be excited about. Like, we got a guy in Thomas Brown who was a high-end assistant to the head coach, Sean McVay. He's on that Super Bowl winning team. He went out there, did such great work. Sean McVay still holds Thomas Brown in high regard. High regard. What job did he have last year? What was it? What was the job? What was his job last year? Was it? I'm sorry. What now? He was the offensive coordinator of the Carolina Panthers. Okay. All right. As a matter of fact, this is the second straight season the number 1 overall pick has had an in-season play caller change, and Thomas Brown was the replacement for both. In 2023, Brown took over play calling duties for the Panthers and number 1 pick Bryce Young from Frank Reich from weeks 8 to 10, and then from weeks 13 to 18. So something happened in those 2 weeks after Reich's firing. The Panthers, good news though, the Panthers scored 20 points once with Brown as the play caller. And by the way, at this point, we look at the Chicago Bears and we're like, you know what? I will take one game with over 20 points as long as it's this one. This is what they want right now. Actually, look it up right now. So obviously, if you remember anything about last season, that's too. Listen, who knows? I don't know if you follow ball around the NFL. I will say, let me find the Carolina Panthers because last season, please let this jive. Please let this be let this be. Okay. So he took over the play calling duties. He was a play caller in week 16 for the Carolina Panthers. Thomas Brown was the offensive coordinator Week 16 against the Green Bay Packers. They scored 30 points. They scored 30 points against the Green Bay Packers in Week 16. I thought they won. I don't know why. Oh, I think there was a squeaker. Like something happened at the end of the game. Andrew Carlson, made that field goal at the end of the way. Actually, DJ Chark scored a touchdown to tie it like late in the fourth quarter. Bryce Young threw for 312 yards and a pair of touchdowns in that game. All right, let's hold it. There we got it. We got him. We got a guy. By the way, the Panthers were shut out in their final two games of the season. I really don't know. I really wish I had more info. I wish I had better news, is I guess what I wish I was saying. I wish there was really something that I think the energy of it. I was sitting there, I was watching Tom Pelissero's piece on Thomas Brown, and you're like, yeah, this guy sounds like a lot of high energy, motivated guy, people buy in. And I want to say, and the funny thing is too, is you sort of want to dismiss everything that happened with the Carolina Panthers. Because you want to sit there and you want to be like, well, it's a dog-ass organization like the Carolina Panthers. And then you remember like, we're the Bears. We really don't have a moral high ground to stand on when we're talking about like, hey, that organization, like we really can't look down on the Carolina Panthers. We really can't. We can't sit there and be like, that's a different thing. Like nobody would make like that. People look at the Bears like that. Like really, when you think if the Bears weren't a legacy program in the number 2 city in the country, you would just think like, it's whatever. We would be the Carolina Panthers. Like that's how much regard we would have. But we've been around for over 100 years. We're in Chicago, for crying out loud. We have probably the most passionate fan base of anybody around. And don't let anybody tell you different either. I know a lot of times too, like you see some of these other fan bases. I know Green Bay. Like Green Bay's had 30 years of unmitigated success. And if they ever go through a drought like the Bears have gone, we'll see how many fans they have. The Commanders. The Commanders are having their best season ever. And or since their Mark Rippon led them to a Super Bowl. And the Steelers went and took over their stadium. Like how? I thought you guys were good. I thought you guys were sitting here crawling into my mentions all the time. I thought you were good. But no. So now we got to go with Thomas Brown. What does this mean? What does this mean moving forward? I really do want to hope. And listen, I know a lot of times these in-season changes are just decorative. They're ceremonial. They don't really mean a whole lot. Like I know there's been some times where there's been like an in-season change and it does spark something. And a team goes on a run and they do something special. I think the Raiders went to the playoffs a couple of years ago with Rick Bisaccia. I think, Steve Fisher taking over for the Fab Five in 1990. There's another one too. I guess Bruce Arians, when he took over, when he needed to step into, ended up winning Coach of the Year. Most of the time, in-season changes mean absolutely nothing. But this would be a good time to have one. You know what I'm saying? Like this, it's getting too out of control. And I want to go to another part of this too in a couple of moments. But like, I think this needs, and this is just, I think the first one. Like this is the first one you got to do where you're like, you know what, like you feel like you got to throw up. And you're like, you know what, let me take a walk outside first. Let me pop a Mento or a Tic Tac or something. Maybe try to settle my stomach. And then ultimately you're like, I'm just going to puke. That's what it's like when it's watching the Chicago Bears. By the way, I want to let everybody know the world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is right at your fingertips in Illinois. The Circa Sports app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Illinois. Experience high betting limits, better moneyline splits, more in-game betting, and the best customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Illinois. And if you or someone you may know has a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER or text ILGAMB to 833-234. Sorry, Sammy. I know I threw that on you. I usually do a better job of setting it up. Like I want to talk about Caleb Williams for a moment and all that stuff that's been coming out. I will tell you right now, for anybody who asked, am I personally giving up on Caleb Williams. I'll tell you right now, I would go to the sports card shop and I would buy a truckload of Caleb Williams cards. And speaking of which, at Windy City Sports Cards, they specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you are a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, or Sky, they've got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles. In addition to their Chicago-focused item, they also offer a vast collection of sports trading cards and memorabilia from your favorite teams and players. So there's been a little bit of noise on this front about Caleb Williams, and about some of the veterans have asked for Tyson Bagent to be the guy. And I don't know. I don't want to speak to it too much because I don't know how much truth there is to it. And this will be something that I investigate over the next couple of days. And also, the one thing that has made me wonder, because you hear a lot of veteran players talking about people who are not putting in the work. And when you hear that, obviously people are thinking about, hey, is it Nate Davis? Is it this guy? Is it that guy? If there are people coming out and talking about a quarterback change, could it be the quarterback that they do? So that's an interesting one. Got to try to get to the bottom of that, and we're gonna expand on this more. We're still gonna be doing Take It to the Rank tomorrow. Now, if you saw me last night on CHGO After Dark, I teased a guest to Greg Braggs. Said, hey, we're gonna have a special guest, and then I didn't say who it was. I left Greg waiting, and Greg's not going to see this, but I think we need to promote it. It's something that have we done it here? I don't know if we've done it here. I think that we've done it on CHGO. On CHGO, we always like to open the forbidden door. Braggs comes over here. I go over there. We're going to be opening up the forbidden door and adding a third member to the trio, and it's going to be Draft Dr. Phil. Draft Dr. Phil is going to be with us tomorrow to talk about all this stuff. I can't wait to hear what Phil has to say. If you don't listen to the Tape Never Lies Network, it's going to be an absolute treat for you. I've been enjoying. I don't enjoy it. I guess that's the wrong adjective. I feel like the guy in Independence Day. He's like, hey, all the machines are working. It's been a very exciting time. And President Whitmore's got to be like, exciting time? We're scoring 3 points against the Patriots. Don't talk about it being an exciting time. It's been a difficult time, but it has been fun to hear some of my friends rant and rave. It's funny too, because you go through this and we're already starting to speculate, like, who's going to be the next head coach? Who is going to be the guy? And I want to get Braggs' take. I want to press Braggs on this, because I had said months ago, when we're like, hey, if there's ever going to be another coach, I know everybody wants Ben Johnson. I know everybody wants, Liam Cohen, whomever it is. Like, listen, who do you think, and Eberflus wasn't, but like, who do you think Mark Trestman was, and Matt Nagy and those guys? The guy that you want, and this might be the reason why he's always talking S on Caleb Williams, is I've said this. I've been on record talking about Bill Belichick, because, and I know that people will point out, like, hey, nobody wants an alpha male at Hallis Hall, somebody to butt heads with or something like that. However, I will point out, Bill Belichick has such deference for history and the prestige and honor of the NFL, that if there was one person who would appreciate and enhance the legacy of George Hallis himself, it would be Bill Belichick. I mean, if Bill Belichick, and I've said this before, the imagery of Bill Belichick becoming the winningest coach in NFL history, wearing a Bears hoodie, like, that would be something remarkable and would go down in the annals of NFL history. And so I think that's a real possibility. And I was watching, I don't know who he was interviewing. He was talking about he was talking to Mike Tyson, and Bill Belichick himself was like, hey, Mike, 58's just a number, just like my number doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, this guy wants to coach again. Come coach the Bears. We do need somebody a little bit. We can't run the risk of having somebody like Ben Johnson come in and being like, hey, like just being Matt Nagy all over again. Because remember, like nobody remembers. The Trestman was similar, but Nagy for sure. And you don't try to rewrite history now. There were a lot of people, not Draft Dr. Phil. There were a lot of people who were like, no, Nagy, this is the way. Modern NFL offense. It's going to be cool. And as a matter of fact, I think if he was the coach right now, we'd be way better off. I don't think we'd be perfect. I think he still makes some in-game blunders. Even Andy Reid, up until Patrick Mahomes came along, still made a lot of blunders. Time management, timeouts, things of that. So, again, we're putting the cart before the horse. We've got a new offensive coordinator. Here's some of the things. I'm sorry, I'm rambling a little bit now. But here's what I want to see happen. This is the thing. And number one, here's the number one thing. Don't embarrass us. Don't get embarrassed against the Packers. Don't let this be a blowout of epic proportions, which we all fear that it's going to be, considering the recent history of this rivalry. I think it's a fair request. Don't embarrass us. Number two, don't get bored with the run game. Like Shane Waldron, just for whatever reason, and maybe it's my imagination, but it always felt like he just got bored. Like, I don't want to keep calling running plays. Like, what are you, an impetuous, like 14-year-old playing Madden? Run the damn ball. I know it's simplistic, but there's a lot of teams that are successful. Like this is, and this is the thing too, like of not hiring Harbaugh. Like this is where it really comes back to bite us in the keister. Run the ball and remember that Cole Kmet is on the lineup. That's it. Those are like three things that Thomas Brown needs to do right now is to go out there, try to reestablish the run. Remember that we still have DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Cole Kmet. And I'm curious the way practice is going to be perceived from now on. How is practice going to change? What's it going to look like? The good news is we will have Tyler Scott on later this week for the Tyler Scott Show. So he can give us a little bit of the insight of what has been happening at practice this week, how much different it was, what was the mood, what was the feel, a little bit of juice in the building. And I know a lot of people, we're sort of celebrating somebody losing their jobs. He had a contract. He's getting paid. Like, don't worry about him. He'll be fine. He'll pop up somewhere. He might want to go to college. He might want to go call plays at San Jose State or something, but whatever. He's got Trace Armstrong as his agent. He's going to end up being somebody's passing game coach. Look at our guy right now. Thomas Brown was the offense. This is the thing. And people always like, you're so insensitive. Make fun of people when they're. I'm like, I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm making fun of situations that happen. Shane Waldron has a contract that'll pay him out. Thomas Brown last year was fired. Ended up as the passing game coordinator for the Chicago Bears and is now the offensive coordinator. So don't worry. Don't cry for these guys. How's he going to eat? He's going to eat fine. He's got plenty of. He's good. He's going to have a nice career. He's going to be fine. Is he going to be an offensive coordinator next season? Probably not, but he's going to go on to somebody's staff, be the quarterback's coach, the tight ends coach, quality. I don't care. He's going to be fine. There's plenty of jobs. Don't worry about him. The job that needs to be done right now is getting the Chicago Bears back on track. Do I think it'll help ultimately? Whatever. I think until you get rid of Matt Eberflus, a lot of these problems are going to remain the same. And unless Matt Eberflus has a change in philosophy that will allow him or allow Caleb to go out there and just let it rip. The offense looks too skittish. And the plays are being called like a guy who is a defensive coordinator who doesn't want to make mistakes. And the weird part about that too is like, well, then dump the ball off, then check it down, do all that stuff. So until there's an absolute change of, and by the way, and this is the most sobering thing to think about. Next season, when next season starts, Caleb Williams will be playing with his third offensive coordinator. His third offensive coordinator in 2 years. So we've already screwed him. We might as well trade him to the Rams right now and let him go. Let Sean McVay have it. We'll just go with Matt Stafford. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm not giving up. Listen, ultimately, I'm not giving up on Caleb Williams. This is just one of those hurdles that we got to get through. There's a reason why he was the number 1 overall draft pick. He's a much better prospect than Bryce Young was. They were trying to make Bryce Young into something in a quarterback-needy league where you didn't have to go out there and spend a lot of money for the quarterback. It wasn't like years in the past where you had to give the first overall pick like $100 million or whatever it is. It's a slotted salary, and so the Carolina Panthers took a risk on Bryce Young, and it hasn't worked out for them. Caleb Williams is still that guy until proven otherwise. You know what? You just look back at the time when they were playing in London. Like, what happened? What happened in that bye week? What was going on? But in any event, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that tomorrow. Once again, in case you missed the announcement, we're going to have Draft Dr. Phil on with Greg Braggs and me. The 3 families coming together for an episode of Take It to the Rank. You are not going to want to miss that. So rest easy, everybody. It's Packers week. I know it sucks, but we're going to be okay. Sammy, play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.